been a long time, and I'm excited to learn together. It's a special year. Getting ready for Chanukah. We're going to ask a few riddles for Chanukah. What do you say? The answer is
somebody.
Okay.
I was going to say somebody has already heard Abdullah. Okay.
Riddles, we're going to ask some Halachic questions that we're going to ask. And we'll try and participate Sveka de Yoma for Yontef Deoraisa. However, and this is a gigantic however, put your seatbelts on for this one. Put your seatbelts on for this one. The mincha. What's that?
Shall I give משהו? Can I say something? Can I say something?
Sure.
Chanukah we celebrate because of the Nessa Chanukah. There are 8 days when we have the Parashemin to light the menorah and the Beit HaMikdash. So we have a specific number of days that we are celebrating.
Yeah, but what about Pesach? That the Torah itself commands us to celebrate 7 days, and we add another day. Sukkot, the Torah itself commands us to celebrate 8 days, and we add one more day. The whole Yontef of Chanukah is the Rabbanon. They said 8 days. So if we are willing to add another day to what the Torah says, why should we add another day to what the Chanukah? However, says the Minchas Chinuch, Mitzvah Shin Aleph, Mamish, an amazing revelation. At the time there was a Sanhedrin, and Beis Din would sanctify the month based on the Re'iyah, seeing the new moon. In fact, they celebrated Chanukah for 9 days. I don't know how many candles they lit on the 9th day. Did they do 9 candles? I don't know. He doesn't tell us. But not less astonishing than that, the Minchas Chinuch writes, Le'osid Lavo, soon, speedily in our days, Yimei Hashem, when again we will sanctify the new moon, the month, based on the Re'iyah, seeing the new moon. There will be again Eidus HaChodesh. We will again, not in Eretz Yisrael, but in Chutz La'aretz, will light candles for 9 days in Chutz La'aretz, Sveika de Yoma, and that is a tremendous chiddush. Rabbi Yashiv argued that today with technology, with the advancements, there's no real need for it, because instantly you can tell the whole world there's no Sveika de Yoma. We know exactly when Chanukah will start. It's a Kafei Kislev. We know when Rosh Chodesh is. You can use your phone, you can use your email, you can use faxes, you can use so many media outlets today, and there's no Sveika de Yoma. So the Minchas Chinuch maintains that there will be 9 days. It's a tremendous Chinuch, but others disagree. We go back to ask another riddle. How is it possible? First night of Chanukah, one will light 3 candles. On the last day of Chanukah, not the 9th day, there is no 9 days, 8 days as we know it, one would light 10 candles. 3 candles on the first night and 10 candles on the last night. When does this ever happen? What do you say, my friends?
3 candles on the first night or on the third night?
3 candles on the first night, 10 candles on the last night. Ever heard of such a crazy thing? The answer is,
well,
yeah.
he's going according to Beis Shammai, clearly.
How is that going to help him? 3 candles on the first
No, he's
night.
going according to Beis Hillel, or Moisif V'Oilech, right?
Beis
So he
Shammai
started
wants
with
you to start the first night with 8 candles. Beis Hillel wants you to start with 1, but this guy's lighting 3 candles on the first night.
So maybe he thought it was the third night on the first night, and then so that he wouldn't go against Hillel, he kept on adding another candle every night.
Maybe we should look in the calendar next time before he starts. He doesn't remember that.
Rabbi,
I hear you.
maybe he's lighting Mahadran on the first night and he's got 3 people in his family, and then he upgrades to Mahadran, Mina Mahadran. And maybe since he started with 3 on the first night, you don't go down to 2, you're Moisif V'Oilech. So therefore 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Are you familiar with such a minhag?
No.
Are you Persian?
No.
Are you Syrian?
No.
Too bad, because if you were Persian or Syrian, maybe you would have been familiar with this minhag. Some of Persian communities, some of those who come from Khaleb, a city in Syria, have the minhag to light 3 on the first night and 10 on the last night. How do they get to it? The first night they light 1 candle, ner mitzvah, as we all do, and they light not 1 shamash, but they light 2 shamashim. Why? Because that is how they explain the Tur in the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Taf Reish Ayin Gimel. That aside from the candle of the mitzvah and the shamish from which you light the candles, you need another shamish, and that shamish is a heker. This is to signal that in the ner mitzvah we don't use, and in the shamish you're allowed to use. That is actually very easy to understand the language of the Shulchan Aruch this way, and that is their minhag. That is why in some old menorahs, you see that there's room for two shamashim. It's not that there should be symmetry between the two sides of the menorah. It's based on this understanding in the Shulchan Aruch. So based on that, the first night it's 3 candles. Then they add one every night. On the last night, on the 8th night, they get to light 10 candles, and that is the answer to this question. Let's ask another riddle. How is it possible to say Al Hanisim in benching in a day which is not Chanukah? I'm not talking about Purim, Al Hanisim for Purim. I'm talking about Al Hanisim with Yochanan Kohen Gadol. In the same formulation, the Nusach that we say on Chanukah, but when does one say it? In benching, but it's not Chanukah. Can that ever happen? And he is not confused. He knows exactly what the calendar says. And he's not...
Well, Rabbi, that's an easy one.
Yeah?
That's an easy one.
Let's see.
He started his meal on the afternoon of the last day, and it was mamshich to the night.
So then when he's saying benching, it's Chanukah. I want him to say benching with Al Hanisim,
No.
not Chanukah.
Sorry. In the afternoon of the 8th, 5 minutes before Shkia, he started his meal.
Yeah.
And then he benches on the evening of the 9th. He has to add Al Hanisim because he's still in his Hanukkah meal.
Does he add Al Hanisim at that point? Is it like Ritzeh? Motzei Shabbos one adds Ritzeh even though it's not Shabbos anymore because it's Nimshach, it's Nigar, it goes after the beginning of the meal. Is that the same with Al Hanisim?
But it must be, or else you wouldn't be asking the question.
Or there is possibly another answer?
Maybe. Okay.
Yes, Leistapik. We should wonder what happens with a person on the first night of Chanukah, the eve of Chanukah. It's still not Chanukah. This week it's Thursday, right? So a few minutes before Thursday kicks in. It's after Plaga Mincha on Wednesday afternoon. And he already lit candles for Chanukah. So as far as he's concerned, he's in Chanukah. And then immediately he goes to eat. He's done eating before Chanukah officially came in, before it says Sakochavim. Was the institution that one is allowed to light after Plaga Mincha only permission to light, but they never said that you can say Al Hanisim when it's still not Chanukah, there's another hour to go. Or just like you can say, when you lighting candles, you say a bracha, She'asa nisim la'av vo'isenu. So too, you can say Al Hanisim, the same word, the same miracles, you can mention them in benching. If Shlomo Zalman Auerbach holds that in a case like this, one will say Al Hanisim in benching because he already declared, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in Chanukah, and this is the time that is appropriate to praise the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And even though, technically speaking, it's not Chanukah, he does need to say Al Hanisim. So we found a person who says Al Hanisim in benching, even though it's not Chanukah. Now, Rabbi, I want to tell you something which is really worth at least $1 million, perhaps my favorite vote for Chanukah. I suggest, if you can, take Chumash Bereshis and look inside. We're going to read some psukim. You will be blown away. If we look at Chumash Bereshis and Perek Lamed Ches, I'm going to speak slowly so you have a chance to go and get the Chumash. Perek Lamed Ches, which happens to be our Parsha, Parshas Vayeshev, Psukim Chaf Daled Chaf Vav. So we're going to chapter 38, Psukim 24, 25, 26. This always happens during Chanukah, so it's great because Parshas Vayeshev, 90% of the time will be read during Chanukah. This is a vote from the Bas Ayin, one of the greatest Chassidus masters. And again, I'm sending you exactly, giving you the right address. Perek Lamed Ches, chapter 38, Psukim 24, 25, 26, Chaf Daled, Chaf Hey, Chaf Vav. Let's read it together. And if it was after about 3 months, it was said to Yehuda. What was said to him? Your daughter-in-law, she did something real bad. And not only did she do something real bad, she became pregnant from it. Yehuda hears this and he says, well, take her out and burn it. So she is taken out to be executed. And she sends to her father-in-law to say, Laish, to the man. Asher, Eile lo. Can Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Laish asher eile lo, to the man that this belongs, anochi hara, I am pregnant. Vatomer, and she said, hakerna. Do you recognize this? Lemi hachosemes, ve'apsilim, ve'amate ha'ele. Who does this belong to? The signet ring, the cloak, the staff. Who do these belong to? Vayaker Yehuda, and Yehuda recognized it. Vayomer, and he said, Tzadka, mimeni. It's right. She is right. It's from me. It's because of me. Ki al ken lo nesati ale Sheila bni, because I didn't give her to my son Sheila, my third son. V'lo yasaf od ledata. We go back now to the psukim. We're going to read it totally different. Look at the beautiful, pure eyes of the Basain, how he read these psukim. This must be talking about Chanukah. Why? Vayehikim mishlosh chodashim, and it was after 3 months. When is 3 months? Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev. Oh, Kislev, that is our month. It's the month of Chanukah. So this pasuk is talking about us. It's talking about Chanukah. Vayugad leYehuda, and it was said to Yehuda. Who's Yehuda? In the word Yehuda, there's the letters of Hashem. Yud Kei Vav Kei. It was told to Hashem, Leimo, to say. Who came and told Hashem something? The Satan. What did the Satan say? Satan says to Hashem, Zansa Tamar Kalatecha. Who's Tamar? Klal Yisrael is called Tamar. Pasuk in Shir HaShirim says, Amarti E'ele Bat Tamar. We are referred to as a date. So the Satan comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you remember three months ago, just 3 months, they were standing there in the shul, wrapped with a talis, standing with a kittel. They looked like angels. They didn't eat, they didn't drink, and they promised HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're going to change, we're going to be different, we're going to better ourselves. It's all lip service. Zansa Tamar Kalatecha, Klal Yisrael, they went wayward. Oy vey, what they did. Kalasecha, your daughter-in-law, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us as if his daughter, the Torah, to get married to. So we are, that's our father-in-law. And not only that, says the Satan to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not only did we go in the wrong direction, vegam, hine haral iznunim, we're pregnant. In other words, we're clinging to the sin. We're always sinning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu hears this. Vayomer Yehuda, Yehuda, as we said, Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if that's the case, there's nothing you can do. Hotziuha v'sisaref. We have to burn. Burn Klal Yisrael. Why burn? Because in Zvachim Kuf Beis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is referred as a Kohen. And in Parshas Emo, the pasuk says that a daughter of a Kohen who is Mezaneh, she gets Sreifa. So we are going out. He mutzes, we go out. When do we go out? Remember, this is the 3rd month. It's Kislev. It's cold outside. We go out. We, Klal Yisrael, sent to our father-in-law, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to say, Laish, who's an Ish? In Soita Mem Beis, the Gemara says, En Ish, Ela Hashem. Shene'emar, Hashem Ish Milchama. Ish refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we say to Hashem, Laish asher eile loi, to the one that these belong to, I am pregnant. In other words, I cling only to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the remez here? Eile lo. Eile is 36 in Gematria. The word lo is 36 again in Gematria. That's 72, and that is the name of Hashem that has 72 letters. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you think I cling to the sin? No, I'm clinging to you. I'll prove it to you. Klal Yisrael says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Vatomer, and we say, Hakerna, recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going out. It's freezing cold. It's in the middle of the winter. It's Kislev, and I'm going out with what? What am I holding? Hachosemes, what does that allude to? The stamp, that's the Kohen Gadol's little jug of oil, stamped with a Kohen Gadol stamp. The psilim, what is that? The wicks. Hamate is hey, mem, tet, hey, that's 59 in Gematria, that Gematria of Kli, which alludes to the Chanukah, the menorah. Look with what I'm going outside in the middle of the winter. I'm doing it only for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With the menorah, with the wicks, with the oil. So what is the Kodesh Baruch Hu's response? Vayaker Yehuda. Kodesh Baruch Hu, Yehuda alludes to Kodesh Baruch Hu. He recognizes and he says, Vayomer, Tzadka, Klal Yisrael is right. So why is this happening? Why, in fact, do sometimes we sin? Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, mimeni, it's because of me. Why? Ki al ken lo nesatia le Sheila beni. Sheila is the letters of Shiloh. one of the names of Mashiach, because I never gave them Mashiach. I still didn't send them Mashiach, and it's because of me, and therefore, V'lo Yasaf Od Ledat, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't listen anymore to the Satan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't listen to any persecution of the Satan. He switches around, and in Mitzvah Hashem only showers us with abundance of good things. Rabbi said we're back to our riddle number 4 of the evening. Can it be a person who has enough olive oil, beautiful, mehudar olive oil to light with, and yet we'll tell him, no, you should use candles, regular candles, wax candles. Don't use olive oil. It's a beautiful olive oil. It's his. It's ready, willing, and able to go. And we will tell him, no, you're going to light with candles, wax candles, not with this beautiful Shemen Zayid Zah. When does this happen? You can unmute yourself and try to figure this one out.
The question once again, please.
How is it possible? When does this happen that a person has beautiful olive oil, top grade, the best olive oil that you can have for lighting the candles, and yet we will tell him, don't use it. Use candles, regular wax candles, instead of using the beautiful, expensive olive oil that you have. When does this happen?
Is it Tommy?
It's pure olive oil, beautifully pressed, gewaldig, expensive. A big Kiddush.
When the candle gives a better light.
But we know that olive oil is the finest light, and it also mimics the lighting in Beis Hamikdash, and that is why we prefer it. So why would that happen? The answer is in the Baya Heitev and Simen Taf Reish Ayin Gimel Seif Kotan Aleph in the name of the Shvus Yankiv, a big Kiddush. A person who started preparing his wax candles, and suddenly somebody comes and over and says, "Oh, here, I see you don't have olive oil. Here, take the olive oil." He already started gluing the bottom of the candles to his menorah. He didn't have olive oil, and then somebody came and gave him the oil. Says the Shvus Yaakov, continue using and preparing the candles, the wax candles, so the candles wouldn't be offended and insulted. I don't know that candles have emotions, but it's a bizayon of the mitzvah. These candles were already sanctified. They were already dedicated for the mitzvah. And I think there's a tremendous limud to us from here. If you have to have sensitivity to candles, to the emotions of candles, how much more so? You have to have sensitivity for humans, for emotions of fellow Jews. Now, Rabbi, I want to ask you an interesting question. We'll present the case, and we'll see what you think is the correct halachic approach. Reuven lives in Tel Aviv. Maybe let's say he lives in Ra'anana. Reuven lives in Ra'anana. And he just lit his Chanukah candles. He used a lot of oil in his beautiful menorah, and it's going to be good for 6-7 hours at least, maybe 4 hours. Plenty of time, more than a half an hour that you need. After half an hour, he told Shimon, his neighbor, I'm going now to a beautiful wedding in Yerushalayim. I'm so excited. It's my relatives. I'm going to stay there. It's so exciting. Fine. And he left. Now Shimon, his neighbor, comes to light his Chanukah candles, and he suddenly sees, oy vey! I ran out of olive oil. I don't have any more oil. The store is already closed. He doesn't have from where to get any oil. So Shimon decided maybe he should do something bold. Reuven already lit his candles. He was already yoytze yedei choiva. Maybe I should blow out his candles, take some of his oil, which anyways will be burned soon, and I'll light with his oil my candles. Shimon now wants to know, will HaKadosh Baruch Hu accept this? Will HaKadosh Baruch Hu want me to light in this manner? Or maybe it's also because it's a mitzvah, haba be'avera. You're doing a mitzvah and a way of sinning. You're doing a sin, you're stealing from someone else in order to do a mitzvah. What kind of mitzvah is that? Or maybe it's the right thing to do. After all, Reuven already was yoytze the mitzvah. It's more than half an hour. He did the mitzvah, so why can't I use his oil? Avoisai, what do you say? Does the Kodesh Baruch Hu like this or not? Should we recommend to Shimon to take from the oil to blow out Reuven's candle, Reuven's light, to take from the oil and light using Reuven's oil. What do you say? You like this invention. You don't like it. Kosher, not kosher.
He should call his friend
His
and
friend
ask if he
does
can
not
take
have a
some
cell
oil.
phone. This is 32 years ago, before cell phone era. His friend has a cell phone. The cell phone is out of service. His friend went to a wedding in a bunker. There is no cell service there. If I can call him, email, there's no question. So I want to know what the answer is when I can't reach my friend.
Normal logic would say you shouldn't take it. But if that's normal logic and you're asking this question, so then you should take it.
Who's
The question is,
normal?
why should you take it?
The question
You want
is,
documents.
who's normal logic?
Mine.
Who says that's normal?
It's for me, it's normal.
Anyone thinks that you can take it?
The only reason I think that you can take it is because you're asking the question.
That's a valid reason. Anyone disagrees and thinks that even though I'm asking the question, one should not take the oil? Are you all puzzled? Or it's so clear to you? Abai said the answer is, it seems that he can take the oil. Why is it? Why
Yeah,
is it?
Dati.
Why is
So because it's
Because you asked.
First of all, it's I think it's first of all the mitzvah of lighting candles on Chanukah is a mitzvah derabanan. Where stealing it's a mitzvah. It's a lo ta'aseh deraita.
If that's the case, he should not take the oil.
Just as you said.
No, but I'm saying he should take the oil. The question is why, and I will explain. If Reuven and Shimon would come to Beis Din, and Shimon will tell the Beis Din, I don't have any oil. And Reuven already fulfilled the mitzvah, he already lit for more than half an hour. Beis Din will tell Reuven, give the oil to Shimon. Why? We're going to learn how much more so. A kal v'chomer from the Mishnah Berurah in Simen Taf Reish Ayin Aleph Seif Kotan Vav. The Mishnah Berurah says, what if you have enough oil for the 8 days to light all the candles, but your friend doesn't have oil at all? Says the Mishnah Berurah, it's better that you light every night only one candle and give to your friend, because me'ikar atin, all you need is one candle. It's beautiful that you like to light every night another candle. You get 3, 4, 5, all the way to 8 candles on the 8th night, but you don't need more than one. So if your friend has nothing, you better forget about your hidul mitzvah, about your beautification of the mitzvah. Only light one candle every night and give the rest to your friend. So if for a hidul mitzvah, which is written in the Gemara, the way we light is written in the Gemara. That's the way Beis Hillel wants us to light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a beautification of the mitzvah, but it's already listed in the Gemara. And if for that, Chazal say it's better that you don't do the beautification, so your friend has what to light with, how much more so when you already lit more than half an hour? He already fulfilled the mitzvah. Mishnah Berurah and Simen Taf Reish Ayin Beis Seif Kotan Vav writes, there is no mitzvah whatsoever after half an hour. Even though the Briskerov was medayek from the Rambam that there is an Inyan, a big Inyan, a hidul mitzvah, to light after a half an hour, to let it light for a long time until there's no more people in the street. But yet the Chazon Ish would blow out his candles every night after half an hour, except for the last night. So if for a hidul mitzvah, for a beautification that is written in the Gemara, we forget about that, then we say there's something more important. Let your friend light. How much more so for a beautification of the mitzvah that, according to the Mishnah Berurah, there is no beautification there at all. And even though you're not asking permission, Shimon is not asking, he can't reach his friend or he doesn't want to. He's not asking permission to take the oil, and without permission you can't take anything. However, in this case, we will apply a concept called Nichale le'inish lemabed mitzvah b'mamoine. A person is happy when others fulfill mitzvahs with his assets when there is very, very little hefsed. For example, the halacha is you come to shul and you forgot your siddur. your friend has his siddur there. You can take his siddur if you're not going to rip it, you're not going to tear it, you're going to make sure to maintain it. You're going to watch it, you can use your friend's siddur. Me'ikar adin, you can even use your friend's tefillin. Today the din has changed because today people are makpid. But the Shulchan Aruch, it clearly says that you can use somebody else's tefillin because a person is happy when others use his stuff to do a mitzvah. That is what the Magen Avraham writes in Orach Chaim Siman Yud Dalet Seif Katan Yud, and therefore in our case the same thing. Especially here that he has no hefsed whatsoever. He's not losing anything because the oil is going to be burnt anyways. All he has is the loss of a mitzvah, but he doesn't even have a loss of a mitzvah because the mitzvah to give his friend the opportunity to fulfill a mitzvah is greater than having his own candles burn for many hours. And after saying all this, still, it seems that it'll be better if he'll only take enough oil to light for one candle, not more than that, and only half an hour. And if his friend's shamash is still going, take the shamash, because in the shamash there is no mitzvah whatsoever. That was the answer of Rav Elyoshev Zecher Tzadik Livrocha. I hope you guys agree. Let's ask another question. What night of Chanukah never falls on Shabbos? You have 8 possible answers. Which night? You can figure one of them out easily because this week you know which night will fall on Shabbos. So you only have 7 possible answers left. Which night of Chanukah will never fall on Shabbos? What do you say, my friends? I don't know if Google is going to help you with this one. If you're trying to figure this one out, you have to look at the calendar for about 100 years back and forth. You're trying to figure out which night never fell on Shabbos. The answer is the 5th night will never fall on Shabbos, and therefore there's a minhag, the Steipler used to do it, and others as well, to give the Chanukah gil to the kid specifically on the 5th night to remind us of this idea, this concept that the 5th night will never fall on Shabbos. Avoy saying our 6th riddle of the night. Can it be a menorah that is only kosher b'di'evid for the house, but it's kosher lechatchila to light in the shul? Our minhag is to light in the shul. We say a bracha. We light at home. We say with a bracha. But what could be the difference between the menorahs? There's a menorah that's only kosher b'di'evid for home, but it's kosher lechatchila for lighting in shul. What can be the difference?
You live among Gentiles. So
I'm sorry?
When you live among Gentiles, because among Gentiles there is no Pirsumei Hanes, but in the Beit HaKnesset there are Jews who see the menorah.
But what type of a menorah is only kosher b'di'evid for the home and is kosher lechatchila for the house? Anyways, you have to light at home. But I'm talking about the specific menorah itself. And by the way, what you said is not agreeable about everybody. Some poskim say that there is Pirsumei Nisa to Goyim as well, and the proof is from the language of the Gemara. The Gemara Masechet Shabbos says that you have to light Ad shetichle regel min hashuk, regel de tarmudai, until people don't go anymore in the marketplace. People are not roaming around in the streets. And the Gemara gives an example. Regel tarmudai, the Tarmudai were not a Jewish nation. They were Goyim. So we take them for example until there's no one in the marketplace. It seems from that Gemara, says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, that there is Pirsumei Nisa even for Goyim as well. But I'm asking about the specificity, about the specific.
The second.
Menorah. What kind of menorah is it that it's only kosher b'di'evid for the house, but it's kosher lechatchila for the shul?
The size.
Is
sorry?
if it is less than 10 tefachim. If it is less than 10 tefachim, it's kosher b'di'evid, but when you put it in the shul, you put it on the bima or something that's high, so that everyone can see it.
2 points in Shulchan Aruch Siman Taf Reish Ayin Aleph Sei Vav. We learn that you lechatchila have to light up to 10 tefachim, from 3 to 10 tefachim when you're lighting at home. So we have a very tall menorah. It's kosher for the house, but only b'di'evid. But in shul, the minhag is to light in a high place. The Mishnah Berurah says over there in Seid Kotten Chav Zayin, so everybody should see it, and therefore our Chanukah, our menorah, will be kosher lechatchila for the shul, while it's only kosher b'di'evid for the home. Now I want to discuss a very common shaila. I was asked many times in the past. This comes up every year. Very common for many, many families. Somebody asked me like this: our family has a minhag to have a Chanukah party, a family Chanukah party, either in the parents' home or they rent a hall, big family, in order to honor the parents, to unite all the families. And they set the time of the party for 1 hour after Hadlakas Neros. Let's say we light at 5 o'clock, the party will start at 6. Most of the families are coming from out of town. They don't all live in the same town. And therefore they can't light at home before they come. It's just too much traffic. It'll take them more than an hour to drive, so they can't light and leave. And therefore they ask, what is the right thing for the participants to do? Where should they light? It's basically 3 questions. Should they light where the party is going to be held? Or should they light when they come back home late after the party? And if you can, in fact, light late after the party when you come home, can they eat before fulfilling this mitzvah? So we have 3 questions. What do you say? Very common question. Perhaps you've dealt with this in the past in your families. What is the right thing to do when you have a Chanukah party, a family one, only 1 hour after lighting? It's impossible to light at home. What is the right approach? Can you light in the hall, or where the party will take place? Can you light there? What do you say? The answer is, in the place where you're going to have the party, you cannot light Chanukah candles. The Mishnah Berurah clearly says in Siman Tafresh Ayin Zayin Seif Katan Yud Beis, somebody who is eating by his friends, when he has a house somewhere else, he has to go back to his house and to light Chanukah candles. To go to the party at the time of Adlakas Neros and to have a party and to eat is also asur. So the advice is to appoint a shaliach, somebody who will light for you in your house. And the shaliach will say a bracha when he is lighting. However, Rav Eliashiv holds that in order to be yoitze, the opinion of the Bach holds that the shaliach does not say a bracha. And even though what the Bach is saying is a big chiddush, it's better that the shaliach doesn't say a bracha, just a regular shaliach. Rather, we should appoint a person who is your neighbor, who anyways has to light with a bracha. Let him light it in his home with a bracha, and then walk over to your house, and the bracha that he said will cover what he is lighting in your house. That is the best way to do it. However, this advice is also not 100% glad, because there's a few questions and problems with this. Especially there's a machlokes. If the one who sent him, you, who sent the shaliach, can you say the bracha when you see candles, when you're going to be in the party? Can you say she'asa nisim? The Mishnah Berurah says that because of safek brachas lehakel, you should not. If you send the shaliach, you should not say a bracha. So it comes out that according to some poskim, you lose the opportunity to say a bracha, to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, the best thing to do, the right thing to do, is to make the party later, to allow all the family members, wherever they live, to light Chanukah candles as should be done. Because after all, why are you doing the Chanukah party for? To praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to thank him for the miracle. So it's not right to do from the ikar. What is the ikar? Lighting the candles, as Chazal instituted, to make it secondary, and from what is secondary, from what is tough of the party, to make an ikar. So that would be the correct approach. Rabbi Isai, I want to ask you a question now that has possibly 5 answers, so hopefully you'll get a few of them at least. We know that we can't use the Chanukah candles, ela lir oisam bilvad, as we say in the song. Can't benefit from the Chanukah candles, and yet today we ask, how is it possible that one will be allowed to benefit from the Chanukah candles? 5 possible answers. How is it possible to benefit from the Chanukah candles? What do you say? Can one ever benefit from the Chanukah candles?
By lighting for someone else?
I'm sorry?
By lighting for someone else.
If these candles were dedicated for Chanukah, how can you benefit from them, whether it's yours or your friends?
The benefit of helping another person do a mitzvah.
If it was used for Chanukah candle, now it's being used as Chanukah candle, who cares who it belongs to? It's a Chanukah candle. A Chanukah candle cannot be used.
If there's a shamash.
If there's a shamash, a shamash is not a Chanukah candle. That's why it's there for, in order to use it, so we don't accidentally use the Chanukah candles. We have the shamash. But I'm asking, how is it possible to use the Chanukah candles, which we know cannot be used, and yet there are 5 possible answers how one can use them?
So if you can walk in front of it.
You can do what?
You can walk in front of it. You can use the light to walk in front of it.
Is that called that you benefited from the light? Especially if there's a shamash there, you're probably using the light of the shamash. 5 possible answers. Erev Shabbos Chanukah, coming up in 3 days. One only had 1 candle. What should he do with it? Use it for Shabbos or use it for Chanukah? The halacha is when you only have 1 candle, you should use it for lighting the Shabbos candle because Shlom Bayis is greater than Pirsumei Nisa. It's not going to be so geschmack if you're eating with your wife and kids and there is no light. You need to have Shlom Bayis, and therefore it's greater than Pirsumei Nisa. But our guy was a little confused. He didn't know the halacha. And he lit the 1 candle that he had, used it for Chanukah. When he later will find out about his mistake, he will be able to benefit from the light of this candle because we paskin that hegdesh taus choize, when a person consecrated something for a mitzvah, but it was a mistake. He didn't intend to do that. It goes back. They can retract. And therefore, in this case, he will be able to use this candle when he finds out about his mistake. Similarly, another answer. Using the same idea of hegdesh taus choize. When one consecrates something for a mitzvah, but it was for a mistake, he can retract. On the 3rd evening of Chanukah, instead of lighting 3 candles, he lit 4. On the 4th, he lit 5. He made a mistake. We already said this guy's a little confused. He lit 1 extra, 2 extra candles. When he finds out about his mistake, he will be able to blow out those candles or to use them because they were accidentally lit, even though they were for Chanukah. But we paskin hegdesh taus choizer, when you make a mistake consecrating something for a mitzvah, it was a mistake. You never intended to. You can retract. Another possible answer, the 3rd answer, and we go back to Friday. Erev Shabbos Chanukah, coming up in 3 days. A person had 2 candles, and he used 1 for Chanukah, and then he lost the other. Oy vey. He starts looking, he lost it. Now it's too late, and it's already Shabbos. Says the Afrakasta de Anya, since he never intended that he should be muktzah for Chanukah in this manner, I wanted to use it. And therefore, it should be a candle for Chanukah, which I can't use. But I never intended that if it's going to be lost, it still should be owned as if by Chanukah. So when he finds ultimately this candle, obviously not on Shabbos, but he will be able to use it even though it belonged as if to Chanukah. The 4th answer, the Pri Megadim writes that a choyle, a person who's sick, she'en bo sakana, we're not talking about tikuach nefesh, even a sick person like this can use the Chanukah candle. And the 5th answer, the Toisfos Chaim and Chai Adam, and so writes the Shari Tshuva. It's in the name of the Chidah, the Birkei Yosef, they both write that if after you lit candles, you lit the Chanukah candles, and then you suddenly say, oh, wait a second, I'm not sure about something, I have a doubt, I have a halachic question about my Chanukah candles. You're allowed to open up a sefer, a Shulchan Aruch, a Mishnah Berurah, you're allowed to look for the answer for the purpose of the candles, using the light of the candles. After all, you're only doing it for the purpose of Chanukah candles. There's a machlokes if you can bichlal use for a dvar mitzvah. Some maintain that you're allowed to always use the candles for a dvar mitzvah. We don't pass on that, but there is a machlokes. So if you're using it for its own sake, definitely you should permit it. And therefore they write that if you want to use the light of the candles to find out something halachic dilemma that you have about the candles, one can use the candles.
I still understand something. the first 3 points that we can use the Chanukah candles, I think if they are invalid for the Chanukah candles, they are not Chanukah candles. So what's the whole point? I mean,
Because I dedicated them for Hanukkah candles, I said a bracha and I lit them in the first two cases. So we would think perhaps, and in fact it's a machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. We passing like Beis Hillel that hekdesh taos, if you consecrate it by mistake, it goes back. But Beis Shammai do not say that. Beis Shammai and the Mishnah say that if once you consecrated something for a mitzvah, that's it. It stays owned by the mitzvah, and you can never use it. Not for Hanukkah, for other purposes. For example, a person gave tzedakah. He wanted to give $100, but by mistake he gave $200. Beis Shammai will say, too bad, you lost $100. Beis Hillel will say, no, if you realize it was a mistake, you took out 2 bills instead of taking 1, the money goes back. But according to Beis Shammai, it's not so simple. The halacha is though like Beis Hillel. Rabbi said, now I want to ask a very, very fascinating question. You know, in the North Pole, the South Pole, sometimes it's going to be dark for 3 months. Sometimes it's going to be light for 3 months. Right now, in the South Pole, it's light for 3 months straight. There is no shkia. So what happens with Ner Chanukah? When do you light Chanukah candles? When you're up there, or actually down there, South Pole, one of those countries next in that area, what do you do? And we basically have 4 questions here. Do you, bichlal, are you obligated to light Hanukkah candles? Because there is a concept, the Gemara uses a concept called Shraga Betihara Mayahane. A candle in the middle of the day doesn't do anything. You don't see it. If you can't see the candle, there's no Pirsum Enisa, you're not publicizing the miracle, so why should you light? Maybe there is no mitzvah for you. If you do have to light, should you say a bracha for the lighting in that manner? You're lighting in the middle of the day. And if you say, yes, we have to light, should you light outside? So maybe it's better to light inside, because if you're lighting inside, at least the people in your household will benefit from it. There will be Pirsum Enisa, which is not the case. If you're lighting outside, nobody's going to see it. And in case that we say that we have to light, and what time exactly do you have to light? There is no shkia, there's no sunset, there's no tzeisa koichavim. When do you light in a place like this? And this question touches on a lot of areas in halacha. For example, when does Shabbos come in and out? When do you eat Shabbos meals? When is the time of Kriyat Shema? When is the time for Shachis? When is the time for Mincha or Ma'ariv? When do you say Birkas Koyanim? Because you can't say Birkas Koyanim at night. When do you wear tzitzis and when do you put on the tefillin? When do you say Birkos HaShachar? The morning, the series of blessings we say in the morning, where there is no morning in a place like that, there is no afternoon, it's always light. Or when it's always dark in the North Pole, when do you say Birkos HaShachar? How does a lady count 7 days of Nidar, or 7 clean days? When do you do Bris Milah? When is the 8th day, when it's one long day? How do you apply the mitzvah of Oiso ve'es benoi lo tishchetu b'yom echad? The Torah says in Parashat Shema, you can't shech a behema and its offspring on the same day. What do you mean same day? This is one long day for 3 months. What do you do with fast days? Tisha B'Av, Yom Kippur, the other fast days. How long do you fast? Do you fast? But we are concerned now with lighting Hanukkah candles. Do you light? Is there a mitzvah for you? How do you light? How does that work? What do you say, Rabbi Say? Did you ever go to the South Pole? Are you planning to go there? You need to know the answer to this.
I heard a certain teshuva about a similar question, that there are no Jews there, as Jews cannot live in such a place.
It's not so partial. There are Jews that live in Finland. And what if tomorrow you have to go? You go with a group of 10 people. For whatever reason, they send you there on a mission. There are Jews living there. But what if there isn't Jews living there? But you have to go tomorrow, and you need to know what to do. So you're trying to avoid the question, and I'm trying to find an answer. So the Gemara says, as we said, Shraga betihara mai ahane, a candle in the middle of the day. What good does that do? And the two paskins this, the Siman Taf Reishain Beis, that if you didn't light Hanukkah candles at night, you were busy. A doctor, surgery for 8 hours. He didn't have a chance to light at night. You should not light in the middle of the day tomorrow, because a candle in the middle of the day, it doesn't do anything. There's no Pirsum Enisa. The Biur Halacha writes that the Rambam says you don't light Chanukah candles before the time. And the person can try to find out what's the source for the Rambam. And it could be that is the Svara, because it's not clear to the people outside. It's not going to be any Pirsum Menisa. You're not publicizing the miracle, because before Shkia there's a lot of light outside. You don't see the candle. But it seems once Chazal instituted that you have to light Chanukah candles, they instituted this for all places. Similar to what Chazal say in Maseches Megillah, the base, about Purim. The Gemara says maybe Perazim, the cities which are walled, the cities which are not walled, have to do Purim on the 14th. Maybe the walled cities don't have to do Purim at all. And the Gemara says, what? V'lav Yisrael ninu, aren't they Jews as well? In other words, how can it be that Chazal will institute a mitzvah only to part of the Jewish nation, and to the other part they didn't? It must be that this mitzvah is instituted for everybody. And therefore, lechatchila, they instituted that you should light at night, when you really see the candles. But if there's no possibility of lighting at night, you should light during the day, just like Klal Yisrael that light. So where should you light? Should light outside, like Klal Yisrael. Chazal instituted to light outside because of Pirsum Menisa. And they didn't make a difference where the place is, except if there's a place of Sakana. They said you can light inside. So, but there is an Eitzah. Since in the middle of the day you're not going to really see the candle, definitely not from far away, one should do some kind of something that attracts attention. Put colorful bulbs around it. Do something that will attract the attention of people who walk by so they will be able to see it. But the main thing is, when do you light the candles? It's one long day. What do you do? So this question is dealt be'arichus in the last 250, maybe 300 years regarding other mitzvahs which are dependent on time. And there are actually 9 different opinions. Get this, 9 different opinions of this. The Radal, David Luya, he maintains all those 3 months where you have darkness or light are considered one long day. Where does he get it from? In Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer in the Medrash Perek Nun Beis, it says that Yehoshua bin Nun made the sun stop. Why? Because it was Erev Shabbos, and he was afraid Klal Yisrael will violate Shabbos. Says the Radal, you see from here that in those places, let's say close to the North Pole or South Pole, where the sun doesn't set, everything is considered one long day. And in the morning, when the sun does not rise, it's considered all one long night. Why? Because if we will say that even though the sun doesn't set, once 24 hours pass, another day has passed. So what did Yehoshua gain by making the sun stop in its track? Once 24 hours pass, there's going to be a Chilul Shabbos. But you see from here that if the sun stops, it's considered one long day. But he himself asks on his own shita from what it says in Yerushalmi. If Yehuda HaNasi died on Erev Shabbos on Friday, and there are great miracles that happened there. One of the miracles, all the cities came to eulogize him, and the sun did not set until they all came back home, and they had time to prepare water and food and candles for Shabbos. And then the sun set, and they were afraid, oh, maybe we violated Shabbos because the rooster started already making noise for the following day, for Shabbos morning. A bas kol came out from Shamayim and said, no, everyone who was invited and participated in the Hesper, the eulogy of Rebbe, goes to the Olam Haba. But you see, seemingly from the fact that they were afraid, maybe they violated Shabbos, it means that even though the sun did not set, you should worry about Chilul Shabbos. So it's not one long day, it's every 24 hours. Who cares about the sun? But the Radal explains, by Yehoshua, the sun did not step. For the entire world, he just made it stop. But when the Rebbe passed away, it was only for those people who were participating in the eulogy for Rebbe. But the rest of the day was, the rest of the world already was night by them. And that's why they were afraid maybe we violated Shabbos. So in our case, those countries next to the either North or South Pole, perhaps they are similar to the eulogy of Rebbe, because in the rest of the world, there is a night and day. So according to this shita of the Radal, that it's one long day, it's going to be very difficult to understand. What should a person do when he comes there on Friday, and then the sun sets and it becomes Friday or it becomes Shabbos now for 3 months. You have to keep Shabbos for 3 straight months. Can it ever be? There are many other questions as well, but let's go to the second Shita. The Kol Yehuda, in his commentary on the Sefer HaKuzari, maintains that people who live in places like this do not have any mitzvahs which are time dependent, which is a tremendous chiddush. But he says it's just like a person who doesn't have a field. He's not obligated in the mitzvahs which are tluyos ba'aretz. If you don't have a field, you're not obligated in those mitzvahs. And he brings a proof to this from what it says in the Medrash and the Psikta. The pasuk says, "Asa yareach lamoadim shemesh yada me'ov mevoyor." The pasuk in Tehillim Kuf Daled, and Rabbi Yochanan says, why was the sun created? It was created in order to illuminate the moon. Why was the moon created? To sanctify the New Year's. The Medrash continues and says, you see from here that you don't count to the moon unless the sun has set. You see from here that in places that there is no sunset, there are no moyadim, there's no Rosh Chodesh, which means there is no mitzvahs that are dependent on time in places like this. But according to this, it's going to be very hard to understand. Will we say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not interested in a Jewish man getting up every morning and putting on tefillin, keeping the Shabbos once a week? The pasuk about Shabbos says, "Bechol moshvoseichem," should not kindle the fire in all your dwellings, even if you live in the north or south pole. So how can you explain that? A third sheet is the Mo'uktzia. The Mo'uktzia says, where you live in places like this, what you do is you count 7 days, equal days of 24 hours, and you make a calculation from the time you got there. And the 7th day is Shabbos, and that's how you do it. But according to that, it's also very hard to understand, because if there's a bunch of people there, each one came from a different place, each one came from on a different day, they will all fulfill the same mitzvahs, Shabbos and Yom Tov, on different times. How is that possible? A fourth Shita Tiferes Yisrael, he maintains. Each one keeps Shabbos according to the time of the place that he came from. And that again is very hard to understand. I came from Israel, you came from the States, he came from Australia, there's a person here who came from India, we'll all sit together on the Shabbos table, but I'll do Kiddush and he'll do Havdalah. Can that be? A fifth Shita. When the sun is in the east, it's day. When the sun is in the west, it's night. The Sefer Divrei Yehosef, he writes, there is a way to check it out, and just make sure, look at 2 stars, and every time those 2 stars go to the same point, you should know the day has passed. A sixth opinion. You fulfill everything according to the nearest place that does have Shkia. The seventh opinion. People who live in a place like that should fulfill everything according to the last time that you had Shkia. Last week, before this started, these 3 months, you still had Shkia, so fulfill it according to that Shkia. The eighth opinion, the Divrei Yatziv, he maintains everything goes according to the watch, according to the clock of Yerushalayim. Everything goes according to Yerushalayim. And the ninth opinion, and this is normative Jewish practice, this is what people do in a place of that, whether they live there or whether they visit. Arbitrarily, we cut the day in 2. 6 a.m. is the beginning of the day. 6 p.m. is the beginning of the night, and this way you can have your whole calendar. That is what the Yavitz, Paskins, the Chidah, the Ben Ish Chai, and Shut Rav Parim, and others. And the proof to their Shita that the day doesn't stop is from Rashi in Parashas Noach. Rashi brings in the Medrash at the time of the Mabul, the time of the flood, you didn't see if it's day or night, it was dark. And yet, the days were counted. The Torah says exactly how many days the flood went on for. So you see that even though it's dark outside, we still count. Every 24 hours is another day. And another proof from another Medrash in Chazal that Moshe Rabbeinu was 40 days with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How did he know when it's day and when it's night, even though there's no sunrise or sunset within HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Yet it's counted as 40 days, meaning that even though you don't have sunrise or sunset, you still count 24 hours as a day. But you see, with all the difficulties and the problems we raised, it's easy to understand why the Tiferes Yisrael and the Chuvas and Hanagos write that a Jew should not live in places like this unless there's a great need for it. So to summarize, one who is there has the light with a bracha, because Chazal instituted the mitzvah for the whole world. It doesn't make a difference where you live. If you light outside, do something that attracts the attention, like colorful bulbs around the Chanukah candle so people will be able to see it. Or light inside, as the minhag of many people in Chutz La'aretz. And as we saw, the poskim deal with different times. When is the appropriate time to light candles? And that obviously impacts on all the other mitzvahs that we mentioned. So we asked many riddles tonight. This has got to be the craziest one. Who has to light 8 candles every single night? He has to light 8 candles on the first night. He has to light 8 candles on the second night, on the third night, on the fourth night, all the way till the 8th night. He always lights 8 candles. Can this ever be? Ever heard anything stranger than that? 8 candles every single night on Chanukah. Any idea? What do you say, my friends? Why would anyone need to ever light 8 candles? What's that?
I heard a Shita, something like that, but I don't really recall whose Shita is that.
So let's see. In Masechet Shabbos Daf Chaf Aleph, we learned the Shita of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai say you light 8 candles on the first night, and then you go down 7, 6, 5, 4. According to Beis Hillel, and that's how we pass in Halacha, we do the opposite. 1 candle on the first night, and then we add every single night. What's the reason? Beis Shammai say it's corresponding to the bulls of Yontif, talking about Sukkot, that you see that they go down 14, 13, 12, 11. Beis Hillel have a shita of Ma'alin B'Kodesh ve'ein Moridin. We always go up in levels of Kedusha and we don't go down. So you can't go down from 8 down to 7, 6. Asks the Siftei Tzaddik, if the shita of Beis Shammai was not paskin la'alacha, why does the Gemara explain to us the reason for their opinion? Who cares? Perhaps it's in order for us to use the reason for their shita when you can't use the opinion of Beis Hillel. What do we mean? There's a person who is dying. The doctors say he has 3 hours to live, not more, maybe 3 hours and 10 minutes. He's not going to make it. And he's asking us before the first night, so what should I do? He can't fulfill the reason of Beis Hillel to be Ma'ale B'Kodesh, to continue moving up, because he's not going to be here tomorrow. So maybe he should at least gain the reason of Beis Shammai. In the first night, he should light 8 candles. And what happened if a miracle happened? He is still here the following day. I don't know how, but he is still here. Should he go down to 7? No, you can't do that because the halacha is not passing like Beis Shammai. You can't go from 8 down to 7. The halacha is Ma'alin B'Kodesh. We don't go down in levels of Kedusha. So what should he do now? Should he go now to the Shita of Beis Hillel? After yesterday, he lit 8 candles. Now he should go down to 2? No, can't do that. Says the Siftei Tzaddik, I think we should instruct him to light 8 candles on the second day as well. At least he will fulfill Ein Moridin. We don't go down. And this way, if he is still with us every single day of the week, if somehow a miracle happened and he's still here, he will light 8 candles every single day. By the way, there's a very interesting minhag that appears in minhagim of Persian Jews, that they used to light 8 candles on the first day and add 8 candles every single day. A very strange minhag, but that's how some Persian Jews had a minhag to do. And I want to end with one final riddle. Are you ready for this? How can it be a person has enough oil to light all the nights of Hanukkah with this beautiful oil, and yet we will tell him, no. Only light 1 candle every evening. Don't light more than that. Can it be?
Sorry.
The answer is based on the Mishnah Berurah, which we already mentioned before. If you have enough oil to light, but your friend doesn't have any, light only 1 candle and give your friend to light. You see from here the sensitivity. We have to think about our fellow Jews. Boys, I just want to end with a quick thought. You know, there's a famous question of the Beis Yosef. How come Chanukah is celebrated for 8 days? Seemingly it should only be celebrated for 7. Because after all, they had enough oil for 1 night. The miracle happened in the subsequent 7 nights. So you should only celebrate the miracle for 7 days, not 8 days. And there is a sefer called Yemei Shmona where he collected more than 500 answers to this very question. More than 500 questions. How in the world is it possible that one question has 500 answers? The answer is in Al Nisim we say, what did the Greeks want to do? They wanted us to forget the Torah measure for measure in their face. The Torah just grows and grows for one question. On Chanukah, we have 500 answers.
It's good.
One final thought. We know that we light every single night. We try to commemorate the miracle, but wait a second. The miracle took place in the Beis HaMikdash. Today, we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, but we do have our shuls. And our shuls are called a Beis Mikdash Me'at, a mini Beis HaMikdash. So why didn't Chazal institute that this should be only celebrated in the shuls? We should all light only in the shuls. What's the Indian to light at home? You see from here that a Jewish home is called a Beis Mikdash Me'at as well. A Jewish home is a place for the divine to reside. And the proof is from Soita Yudzayin Amud Aleph, where Chazal say, Ish ve'isha zachu shchina b'neihem. If a man and a husband and a wife married, the Shekhinah reside in their house. The Greeks wanted to cancel one hadlaka, one lighting in Beis HaMikdash. But in Al Nisim we say, Nakamta es nikmatam, you avenged their wrong. What was the revenge? They wanted to cancel one lighting in Beis HaMikdash. Instead, in their face, they got millions upon millions upon millions of holy temples in the entire world. That is the Jewish home. And when a person knows, when one knows that his home is a place for the divine to reside, it's called a Beis Mikdash. Hopefully, he will conduct himself appropriately. We should all enjoy a beautiful Chanukah. Chanukah. Shemirtze Hashem, Vizoiche, to see the candle being lit in Mitzvah Hashem real soon in Beis HaMikdash.